Okay, we should be back for part 2. I don't think this was a Phantom Brigade thing that caused that, but I am just going to take a second to load up Chrome. Really sorry about this. We went...
much. We're going to have to stop. And he said, well, how much is too much?
If I were to plot it for different initial conditions,
these
machine learning with classification.
For those of you who keep hearing this happen, by the way, these are the same 3 videos that keep popping up over and over again. Okay, let's just see where we're at on Twitch. I just want to make sure that I have my quality options. I feel really bad about the having to end it that way. Okay, so here's the deal for me. I see that I am live. I also see exactly 0 people watching right now. So if somebody is able to see the stream and can confirm that it's that they're able to watch, okay, wonderful. So I'm assuming Twitch's metrics will follow up. Wonderful. Okay, thank you all. I know it sucks when stuff like that happens because, it's a natural breaking point. It's a time where like people will be like, okay, I saw what I needed out of that. But I'm glad you're all still around. So thank you. I actually really appreciate the feedback. It's really hard. Like I have an idea of roughly where like audio levels and just generally where settings should be for the stream. Like I've kind of been doing it long enough that I generally have a sense of when stuff is wrong. But it's really, really helpful to just get that confirmation. So sorry about that. It is an early access game, so these things happen every once in a while. But it just means that we get to experience the raid again. Actually, ascending order, I don't mean to make you do so. Please do not feel any sense of obligation to like answer these things or something like that. Do you have a favorite event, or do you have a favorite story bit that? There's a few different ways I can frame it actually, because for Industries of Titan, one question I got to ask Sir Kama, which actually wound up identifying a bug in a weird way. I asked him if there was a detail that he had in the art direction for Industries of Titan that he was particularly proud of, but nobody had really noticed or commented on. Like it felt sort of like underappreciated relative to how proud they were of it. I have a few things like that for myself in some of the stuff that I do, but I'll leave it to you to whichever one is most interesting. But I have a tremendous admiration for people who are able to write. I try to, and I sometimes succeed even. But this is my chance, knowing that there's a human being who writes the experiences that I have in this game. I'm a little curious. Great, thank you, Index. No, and obviously, again, if you don't want to work on your time off, please do not take that as as something that I'm going to feel too hard done by if I don't get an answer. Okay, so this is a little bit more of a speculative hit on the enemy units. In fact, to be honest, I don't even think this is really worth putting that effort in. Does look like they want to hit the Sleipnir though, so what I am going to do is I'm going to let the Sleipnir have an early shot at the turret. Oop, gotta make sure I'm standing in the right spot though. You're a pretty simple person, so the dog one was your favorite to write. Oh yes, actually. So I also think too, like the dog. I think the dog one surprised me because I didn't appreciate that there could be sort of like call and response events. So I think for a while I had an experience where I'd find the dog and it was just like, hey, we've got a dog in the brigade now. And then I think I ran into an event where it was like, you've reunited the dog with their owners. And I was like, oh, that's really neat. Because, you know, again, it's a little, I know this is like a thing in games where sometimes it will, like when you're not expecting a reference to a decision that you made earlier, it kind of gives you the impression that the game is watching. So I think the really big example people give of that is Deus Ex, where if you've walked into the women's washroom, you know, your boss kind of tells you off for doing that. So there's also the event that this update is named after the festival. Oh, okay, yes, I am actually looking. I am looking forward to that. Like I said, Small Pharma was the title that was most eye catching to me. But I am curious about the other fire festival now. All right, let me chip away at a turret for a little bit, and then we can. Thank you for answering those, by the way. It's as Index Gnome points out, it's always, you know, obviously anybody who does, like, so I know Maddie is like ridiculously talented as an artist, in addition to being just a wonderful and, you know, empathetic community manager. But I have had the chance to see her wonderful drawings as well, and I'm like, it is mildly upsetting to me that there are people who are this talented. But obviously anybody who does fun and creative things are just these magical creatures to me, and it's a chance to dissect their brains in a non-painful way and see where the magic comes from. And for details going unnoticed, you're not sure about that one. Maybe it's one of the provinces that has a book title that was a joke around one of your favorite books. See, the last time we talked about favorite books, I think it was during the Industries of Titan stream. And I think Philip K. Dick came up, and I was at that point. I think I was just about ready to turn the chat into just a list of like all of our favorite Philip K. Yeah. So, hey, it's Huge. How you doing? Yeah. So now I'm gonna have to go scour the. Now I'm gonna have to go scour the provinces to see if I can catch the book name. Although I'll admit I'm not as well read as I sometimes. I don't like try to come off like it. That's kind of crummy. But like I just read too much nonfiction. I don't always get a chance to read the really exciting stuff. But and the funny thing too, actually, ascending order, the really funny thing for me is that when I was in high school, I sort of knew that I was going to work in film, which is where I started. I do econ now, but like at the time I knew I was going to do film. And so I pretty much just phoned it in as far as the more quantitative classes were concerned. And so I definitely did not think of myself as a math person. But when you decide to do economics at a higher level, you kind of have to know your math. Or maths. Actually, so I prefer maths because, of course, the name is mathematics. But I am also born in North America, and so I tend to say math. So not the girl with the dragon tattoo. Well, I guess that wouldn't be Norwegian, but yeah. Yeah, this is the thing. And it's like, because, it's British. So obviously it's the invented, it's the source of the language. Of course it's got to be correct. But, but no, like it makes sense. It's called mathematics. And it both sounds better and makes more sense. But because I'm a product of the North American school system. You know, the worst thing too is that, like, every time I say math, in my head, it sounds like math. Like, it just sounds very inelegant. But yeah, in any case, I definitely became one of the. I eventually was convinced that it really is the case where I feel like people are taught to feel like they are not maths people. And the other thing that I found was really interesting was that I had a professor who is a fellow of the Royal Society, and not the Canadian one. Like, he is a fellow of the Canadian version, but like, we're talking the Royal Society, and he doesn't like looking at pages of math equations. Like, he does that. He is a mathematics professor. He's incredibly smart. But that was also just a verification for myself that, like, no human being actually likes looking at equations. If you look at pages full of Greek letters, you're either a classicist and you have a wonderful job, or you are a mathematician and you'll be miserable. And that even mathematicians seem to prefer to have some prose to explain what these things are doing. Dyscalculia, which is maths dyslexia. There are some mathematicians with it, but you can't be doing with that. Yeah, that is definitely quite a handicap if you're going to be trying to do work on the frontier. And we have got Night Vale. You join a system chalk is making an economist noise today. Seems to be good. Yeah, if you do a micro theory paper and you got a theorem wrong, that's the sound that they make in the seminar. All right, let's get on with the mission. It's a totally different map, so we're gonna take a different approach. I'm curious if they have the same loadouts though. Nope, it's a marks. Oh crap. Okay. All right. Yeah, I really don't want to get hit by this stuff then, but it does mean that if I move around, I should be fine. For those of you who do not know Night Valian, he is a soft voice Brazilian streamer. He streams a little bit later than I do. So, which pilot? This one? This one? This one? I guess it was this one. But he streams a bit later than me, so he's always a safe recommendation at the end of the day. I believe he's actually somebody who's going to be playing Phantom Brigade when. And Industries of Titan, actually, when the time comes. Of course, I ask, what's your excuse? Why haven't you done it yet? But a wonderful streamer who has been doing a lot of lovely independent Canadian games, which is, of course, the secret to my eternal friendship. And is, of course, remarkably nice to me whenever I visit his own channel. So definitely a cool fellow that you should be spending time with. So instead of trying to get a little fragment of a hit on this unit, I should probably just get the nice full duration of the beam. Oh, Sophie's World. That's the one that's a nice like summary of philosophy, right? Somebody recommended that to me, but I've not actually read it because I wound up finding Bertrand. So I wanted to get into reading philosophy. I actually wound up starting with Bertrand Russell's History of Western Philosophy. When the time came, so I missed out on Sophie's World. Actually, I would really like to watch it. Oh, Olaf, thank you very much for gifting Night Valian that sub. I should actually say there's been a number of you who've subbed today, so thank you very much for that. Please remember, the Eyes of Sin has done some wonderful emotes for the channel, and if you are not, oh Jesus, Night Valian. For those of you who are not subbed to the channel, keep in mind by watching the channel, you will get channel points. So not only do you, so for 320 channel points, you can unlock a random sub. For 480 points, so you unlock a random emote. For 480, you can pick an emote, and even for those of you that have the emotes, it's actually worth mentioning that the rate of points that you acquire is higher if you are subscribed to the channel. You get to modify the emotes, and it just so happens that these emotes work really, really well with some of the changes. So, for instance, Epicurus with his sunglasses, I'm rather fond of. But I will leave it for all of you to discover those. But it's one of the few things that Twitch has implemented where I actually really think it helped, and there was like no strings attached. In this particular case here, I really think that the channel points have allowed people who would normally want to participate in the channel that way but don't have the opportunity to. It's given them a chance to sort of share in some of the fun. Okay, let's see if we can get the Sleipnir to run across the map to an objective. Looks like we can. I might try and do a dash, mostly just because I can. Okay, looks like I'm going to get hit if I do that. Gonna head off. I'll say that it isn't Sophie's choice. Sophie's World. Or I'm gonna play coy about what it is. Well, yeah. Now I gotta look at the provinces. But pleasant chatting to you. I hope you get a chance to encounter Small Pharma. Well, yeah. Well, now I want to check the Festival of Fire as well. But I know I'll run into it one way or the other. Thank you so much, Ascending Order. And if you get a chance, I'm assuming Brace Yourself is still probably on work from home. But if there's a team meeting or whatever, or otherwise, please, if you feel like it and get a chance, please do express my sincere gratitude for having so many people stop by to see the new, while I was doing the new update. I know I spent a lot of time talking instead of playing, and that does seem to be my MO. But it really is a joy to have you all on the channel. So thank you for all the work that you've done, and thank you for the extra time that you put in hanging out. Okay, I don't think... So there might be a way that I can make this work. Yeah, I get a little hot, but... Well, you know what? If I just stand and wait for the attack to finish... I bet you I can just run... Yeah, no, we don't quite hit it, but I bet you I can dash into it. Yep. That's what the doctor ordered. Thank you so much. And yeah, have a great night. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and I look forward to seeing where all of this goes. So I think I might have... Yeah, so if I stop here, I think the problem is I wind up, I lose any chance to hit the turret. I will take the opportunity to get a little chip damage. It does mean that I cross over into the other turn, which I'm never crazy about, but I do want to try and get some damage to the enemies, and I've really not left myself a lot of options with the Sleipnir. So let's realign the turn. So okay, beams going everywhere. What am I shooting? Oh right, yeah, we're standing and shooting with the machine gun on this unit here. In fact, I would argue we can probably shave a little time off of that. If I go here... Yep, that's great. So there's just a tail end of that goes into the next turn, but we use the time quite a bit more efficiently. And I think with the heavy here, I really just wanted to move it behind a wall. I feel like we can do better movement-wise. So what I'll do, maybe start a... nope, okay. We'll just walk then. But I'll probably... I might actually make this the next pickup. The other thing that I need to keep in mind is that while we might have taken out one unit... Oh no, we haven't taken out one unit yet. We took out one turret, that's right. We do have reinforcements arriving in one turn, so I do want to be a little careful. I do want to be a little careful about how far I commit my more slow-moving units. So let's see where this goes. God, that beam is always satisfying to watch. Drone is a rough location of the crate, but we're going to need another ping to ensure it's picked up. Oh. CR2 on the field, what's taking you so long? Here, surround them and finish them off. Okay, looks like it doesn't count that as being within the danger zone. So I'm just going to keep pounding away with the short range, or the sidearm. I think I'm just gonna finish off with the beam. Now, there is a big argument to be made for like finishing off the enemy. But I do get a nice chance to beam this guy. The only drawback is that like the angle's not great. I don't think I'm actually going to be able to do as much damage as I would like. On the other hand, they are firing with a marksman rifle. I think I'll do a proper intercept. They've got a compact launcher, so it's not like they're gonna... I don't think they're gonna have too much of a... They're gonna be too much of a threat. So I think let's move... Oh yeah, if I just go up close, get to turn around and hit him in the back with a machine gun. Okay, where are the reinforcements coming from? Whoa! That's a lot closer than I thought they would be. Okay, so I'm gonna feel like a bit of a clown doing this, but I'm actually gonna walk. I'm just gonna take my spot back on the hill. Okay, I really, really, really want to let her rip with the Vulcan, but that would be a terrible choice right now. So what I'm going to do instead is I'll move Tango. If it's very likely that both of these units are going to go after Tango, in which case I will just jet. Actually, no. You know what? I'm going to wait for the last possible second, and then I'm going to jet to the back. So they might still wind up trying to attack Tango. I'm not 100% sure how that'll work, but I prefer that to starting the jump at the time that they're getting ready to fire at me. So let's see how this goes. Okay, so this seems like an opportunity for the beam weapon if I ever saw one. This works out rather well for the machine gunner. Basically, we go to take the objective, and then as soon as this enemy comes into position, we get to open fire with the machine gun. Looks like I was, I wound up blinking with the. So the one thing I didn't anticipate was a compact launcher. So missiles are going to be coming after the hammer. No, they're going to keep firing those missiles at me, so... Well, actually, what I'll do in that case, so I'll wait for them to... so they'll finish firing, then I'll do my dash. I mean, I'm going to be suffering for the heat anyway, so let's see how it goes, I guess. Okay, so I don't mind standing still to get a nice big beam to the back. What I do mind is that I'm not doing anything immediately afterwards. So let's just walk up to try and make something happen. And then we do have a perfectly good Sleipnir open to... Oh, hang on. It's not done. Oh, wow, we really didn't do any damage to that at all. Huh. Okay. Well... Oh, and looks like they're going to be focusing on me, so we will just stay in our hiding spot. And then we'll creep out in time for the second turn. So I want to see what happens with these missiles. Okay, they're all aiming in the wrong spot. Okay, looks like they're just walking in all the wrong spots for taking the damage, but they are going to take a hit, or they're going to shoot me with a sniper rifle, so I want to be rather careful. Oh, actually, they're going to do that right away. Okay, so... that may not be enough. But I definitely do not want to be standing still when they shoot that thing at me. Again, the heavy weapon requires two hands to operate, so a sufficiently high damage sniper can sort of put an end to my my really effective unit. Okay, this is a rather inconvenient position for this unit, so it is actually pretty clever that they're firing missiles, for the simple reason... Okay, so if I decide to take the heat damage, that is a very long time that I'm cooking, and half of that is spent... okay, honestly, just batten down the hatches. Try and do some damage with the beam, and I think we'll just call it a... We'll call it a mission there. So I don't actually think the shield's going to do all that much against the missiles. It's mostly so I can feel good about myself. It's as close as I can get to a brace. So I'm probably most interested in seeing how this snipe turns out. So of course this is going to go spraying all over the place now because they're moving. But we may be able to knock out the pilot with my... Okay, that was a big hit, which wound up inexplicably hitting my lower body. Meanwhile, glorious. 5% concussion for having a missile land directly on the cockpit is a small price to pay, in my opinion. Ooh, we are dangerously close to losing our legs. But we're at 96 concussion. And it does look like we are gonna... I think we're gonna deliver a knockout this turn. Which is good. Who gets the shot off first? Oh, there's one shot that goes off. Okay, pilot knocked out. Let's see what happens to the bullet. Harmlessly hits the wall. Victory. All hero hostiles eliminated, site under control. So this is a neat little change that they made. It used to be that you would need to take out the turrets. But yeah, so you used to have to take out the turrets as well. I don't know if they count towards the list of... Like, I don't know if eliminating them boosts your haul, but it is kind of nice that I don't need to worry about them. Also, it's also nice that we didn't lose our legs, so I don't need to spend any salvage reclaiming or repairing them. So, Vidar heavy sensor, supplies, rare heavy launcher, that's nice. So it's all grays. I'm pretty sure I'm going to wind up scrapping all of it. So if you want to be able to scrap, if you want to be able to like scrap everything, you can just hit the dismantle button. You don't need to individually do that. And of course, we need to be a little more selective. So, we actually need to be a lot more selective. So one of the things I want to do here is, I think I'll start by spiking the compact launchers. Basically, any sidearms. So one thing I'm a little curious about now, if I get rid of the... So this is 460. 430, okay. I don't need to... I won't mess around, like... I could go for hours, like, trying to min-max all of this, but I think I'll leave it, I'll leave it with this. Okay. So we are going to do some repairs. I also... There we go. You've successfully liberated this province, and the people rejoice. The relief is palpable. One of your pilots wanders over to you as you watch the people dance in the streets. I know there's a lot more to do, she says, but shouldn't we celebrate the small victories? She and some of your other pilots would like to celebrate with the people. Now, I remember we used to be really, really short on supply, but we are doing very poorly on fatigue. We could use the 6 hours just to get our fatigue up anyway. And more importantly, getting the 100 off to blow off some steam. I sort of feel like this is a time when spending that supply would be a good idea. We still have a site to liberate, but we're in decent shape, I think. You've successfully liberated the province, and the people rejoice. Did I read this already? Well, I'll read it again. Freedom. You have successfully liberated this province, and the people rejoice. The relief is palpable. One of your pilots wanders over you to watch the people dance in the streets. I know there's a lot more to do, she says, but shouldn't we celebrate the small victories? She and some of your other pilots would like to celebrate with the people. Give your pilots a night off and some booze to blow off steam. So, actually, just taking a look at the workshop. Or maybe it's the inventory I want to look at. Somewhere it tells me how much scrap I have. I actually just want to listen to this music again. Oh, there it is. Top right hand corner. Yeah, 938. So we're in a better position than we were before as far as our resources go. So I don't have a ton of time left, but I think let's try and take out the Spec Ops base before we move on to another region. It is also worth remembering that the deliberate effort here was to go after... So we went from level 1 to level 7. We are deliberately taking on harder missions than we had intended. And so the aim here is to kind of continue along those lines. So if I can, try to take... so if I want to follow the pattern of like trying to go for... if I want to try and follow the pattern of going after, like, so one thing I could say is like, I'm going to go for the hardest adjacent region. I think that would be Izidgot. So that's level 10. That's not as big as a jump from 1 to 7, obviously. The other alternative, of course, would be it's like, okay, well, let's see how deep we can go into the game. Like, let's just go after the capital. That would be a terrible idea. Also, here's all of the... Maybe this is where the Fire Festival is. I think I know. It's Capital District, after the great work of political economy by Karl Marx. That's the one that it's named after. Cyberdog, did you order this mindworm? I did not, but if you're gonna bring mindworms into chat, be sure to bring one for enough for everyone. How you doing, Cyberdog? All right, let's enjoy our booze and we'll at least get the Spec Ops base done. I might need to wait for the next stream before we decide what the next region is. All right, you can attempt to gain control of the structure by mounting an assault with your squad. Oh, actually, it occurred to me we also just got the frame for our melee unit, so maybe let's give that a shot as well. So, base siege, spec ops, a reinforced military structure for overseeing the invaders' operations. It's heavily guarded, and attacking it will likely draw the attention of local patrols if they have not been eliminated. So, caution is advised. We will suit up. So, first thing I'm going to do is take. So, we're definitely bringing the spike. We're gonna get Old Testament here, and it's gonna be just a melee weapon on its own, you know, attacking in all directions. All right, so if I go for light, well, I don't really have any options here. The mass is roughly. Oh God, this one's so much better. Eleven's not bad. I feel like we can do better speed-wise. So if we throw an overdrive core in that thing, yeah. Overheat is a little bit of a worry, but... And sadly, there's no sidearms for this unit. So I have a few ideas about where to go with this. I do have an idea of like a pure white, if I can, like a pure white melee unit. Yeah, it doesn't look quite as exciting as you think it would, does it? We go for the Black Knight. I am definitely going to mess around with the individual parts, though, so... Ooh. I was hoping for something that maybe be glowing on the ends, but I don't know. I kind of like where this is going. Like it's got just enough color around the edges to make it interesting, but not enough to distract too much from the overall look. I'm happy with this. It's not my most exciting design, but I think Anyways, oh yeah, we gotta give this thing a name. Or I guess I don't need to be in the screen for it though. So we will call this thing, I think this is a bug that Lars is sort of superimposed over this. What do I want to call this thing? I could call it like the Avenger or something, but I don't know. Is there a more exciting name I can come up with for our melee unit? Hammer's already taken. I'm juggling around like 3 or 4 different ideas, but they sound like ridiculous in my head. You want to do Greek hero? We haven't done Greek heroes for this one so far. I definitely have. I mean, I've actually got a copy of the Iliad with like arm's reach, and it's got it has a dramatis personae at the start. So, I feel like I'd be in good. I feel like I'd be in good shape for that. I'm looking for. I'm actually I don't have a full plan yet for where I'm going with this yet. I was thinking of like Vindicator or something, but I don't know if that's a stupid name or not. The Testament. Ooh, I could call it the Gavel. The Chopper. Chopper's not a bad name actually. Especially because it has different... I actually really like the idea of calling it the Gavel, though. Okay, so I think I'm going to take the linebacker out. We'll replace it with the Gavel. I can actually take it. If I wanted, I could take a sidearm off of one of these other units and put it on it, but it does keep the weight light. So I think I'll take my chances with just a primary weapon. So let's go to the briefing. Oh, so Polaris does wind up wielding the Gavel. What are my thoughts on solid-state batteries? I don't really have any thoughts on solid-state batteries, Cyberdawn. Is this something that inspired that question? I feel like I should do some homework or something. Oh, reading my articles. Ah, I see. Yeah, actually, the UE5 one, I probably should... So I do actually regret that I've not been blogging more. I had a really good one, and then I found out I got scooped because my Linux partition sort of died, and I needed to... Like, I was rebuilding the data, and, like, somebody used the very similar data set to what I was working with, and I was kind of like, oh, this is too frustrating. Like, I just don't want to work with it. But, yeah, well, I mean, the thing is that at the time, that demo, like, the thing to remember about the demo is that at the time, all that we had seen was what Epic had shown us. And obviously demos, like, so the Unity demos that come out, right? Like, they're very impressive. They definitely, clearly they are demonstrating what is possible within the confines of the engine. But it is also like a team that's specifically trying to make that engine look good. So, you know, there's always sort of a healthy dose of skepticism, you know, that goes to these kinds of demos. So in that particular case here, I wanted to try and give what I thought was as, you know, thoughtful of a perspective as I could offer on that. Because I basically thought that there was a little too much cynicism to something that I actually thought was quite impressive. And of course now the early version of Unreal Engine 5 is out, and we are now able to see what people can do with it. And of course, not everything is going to look like that demo because it's specifically designed to sort of show off the capabilities of that particular engine. But on the other hand, it does seem to be that a lot of the things that were exciting about the reveal are actually things that people are taking advantage of. And as I think is always the case, like, it's probably going to be a little bit later on as this tool becomes, more widely used and people become more comfortable with sort of what the available hardware is, that we're really going to see the stuff that really makes that tool sing. But, again, the Unity people are going to do their demos that look very impressive. But the games that are probably going to draw attention are things like Ori and the Blind Forest and Hollow Knight and Cuphead, which don't look like the demos Unity comes out with. This is a Unity game. This game looks amazing, and it does not look like the more recent Unity demos that they've done that have really been trying to push sort of the photorealism. And before Unreal bought Megascans, they used a lot of that tech. And again, it's one thing for a company to design the tools that developers are going to use, and I think there is some value in trying to push the envelope in terms of visual fidelity. But I think it's also very true that usually the most impressive stuff is going to be when a creator picks up that tool and kind of runs in a direction that was maybe not quite intended at the moment. So. But we'll see, right? I think the one thing that interests me the most is that at least a handful of people that I've talked to that have kind of played around with the UE5 demos, they've said that it's actually been very easy to port their existing games into UE5. And so what interests me there is whether or not... it does interest me whether or not some of the games that have already committed to a particular engine are going to see, if they see that there's a benefit to adopting the new technology. So for instance, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, XCOM 2 is still using Unreal Engine 3. And it's funny, I remember I'm not going to say the streamer's name because I actually really like the streamer, but there was somebody who was going on and talking about how much better the engine that XCOM 2 was using. And I'm like, it's using the same engine, but the difference is that XCOM Enemy Unknown was made with the intention of being able to play it on an iPhone and an iPad. It was something that out of the box had support for all of these different platforms. And on top of that, smaller budget, smaller team, it was not assured that people would necessarily like turn-based strategy games that were not Civilization. And XCOM 2, when that was released, much bigger budget, specifically released for PC, although obviously it was later released for other platforms. And it had nothing to do with the fact that they moved to a higher number of Unreal. It meant that they were no longer targeting for a much broader range of hardware. So, of course, they were allowed to make... XCOM 2 is enormous. It's like an 80 gigabyte install on my computer. And, of course, BioShock Infinite is I think they call it Unreal Engine 3.5. That game looks amazing. So clearly it's not just incrementing the number that leads to the look of the game. But again, the drawback is that if you just associate an engine with being able to make a game look a certain way, that's really all you're going to talk about. But of course, that isn't it. And of course, the whole... the worst ones, of course, are oh, Unity... Unity just makes bad games. I'm yeah, because you don't like Phantom Brigade, and you don't like Cuphead, and you don't like Ori and the Blind Forest, or Hollow Knight, or Monument Valley, or, obviously there's so many really great things that have been made with Unity. There's so many great things that have been made with Unreal. There's so many great things that have been made with people doing their own engines, or, what was it? Frozen Synapse is done with Torque, which I think that's like an open source engine now, but I think once upon a time was associated with like tribes or something like that. But yeah, like it's obviously it's one of these things where like I don't know, like I haven't, beyond like helping out Valiant Cheese with supply chain, like I don't make games, I don't know what constraints people are up against. But of course I do also have that film experience of, you know, wanting to light scenes and you know, realizing the limitations of the physical world, and so being able to appreciate some of the problems that the text that Unreal had revealed, appreciating some of the problems that they were trying to solve, to me kind of, I didn't, the conversations that were being had at the time relative to what I thought the headlines should be didn't match, and so usually when I don't think those things match, I tend to write an article. I mean, I love EA games. I actually really like Frostbite. I know people like to complain about Frostbite, but, you know, Need for Speed's great. Battlefield's great. I haven't played Andromeda yet, but I'm pretty sure the problems with Andromeda have nothing to do with Frostbite. Okay, so I know BioWare likes to blame Frostbite, but like I don't think the problems with Andromeda is like, I don't think it's because, you know, the levels couldn't get made, or like I don't think the AI is like screwed up. Maybe it is, I don't know, but like obviously if the team was fighting with the engine, then clearly there's a problem in terms of like just being able to get stuff done, and that would be the source of a problem. But like I don't think it was the I don't think Frostbite just stopped working for Andromeda is what I'm trying to say. Yes, Frostbite was DICE, and I think there was a sort of a, basically it seems that for a while EA was really pushing that as something that would be like its major releases would all use it. So, you know, you can sort of amortize the costs of developing the engine across a number of games. I should also mention too, like it does feel like there was a lot of really cool vehicle stuff that got added into games, you know, around the time that Need for Speed was probably ported to Frostbite. So I assume that there's some like benefits in terms of just being able to do more things. I don't know, right? Because it's not like I'm in EA like watching this stuff happen, but obviously there's been quite a bit written about Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem, and you know, it seems for one reason or another that Frostbite is really coming under fire for being something that was difficult to work with, and as a result hurt those games. And again, I personally sometimes find it hard to, like, I'm really not sure what to make sometimes of stories like that, because, you know, like if things didn't work out, you know, it's very convenient to blame the tool, but you know, that may not necessarily be what the actual problem was, right? Like you do sometimes want to make sure that you're properly diagnosing problems. But on the other hand, like, you know, if I'm not personally experienced in it, I'm also not entirely sure I should just be saying it's like, well, they don't know what does BioWare know what they're, you know, about their games. Like, obviously that's a silly thing for me to say too. So, but yeah, I don't know, like, I think in some cases it's just wound up being another thing people can kind of yell at EA about, which I obviously never feel good about, but okay, so I'm a little uncomfortable with how this is working out, but basically, so I'm wasting a little bit of the initial shot, one, to avoid hitting my own unit, but also while these guys line up. But basically the idea is I want to let her rip on this unit until it gets hit by melee, and then the real target kind of comes into focus. So this unit I'm going to sort of move off to the side. Maybe I'm not, actually. Maybe I'll just enjoy my safety and shoot the turret. Yeah, well, I think that was probably the big... I think the essence of the complaint was probably that the team was very familiar with Unreal, and I suspect that there was a group of people, rightly or wrongly, and I don't... Like, I suspect there's some truth to the criticism, that basically in order to avoid paying a fee to Epic, they were made to work with a technology they were unfamiliar with. And the game suffered as a result. And again, like, I'm not unsympathetic to, like, the biggest thing that I can say is that, like, the people who want to blame all the problems on things that they didn't like on Frostbite kind of have to answer the questions like, well, why do all these other games with Frostbite, like, not have these problems? Because, like, I think, like, you know, I read the Kotaku, again, a bunch of people have all read the same article I did. And at a certain point, you kind of have to answer the questions like, well, like, why is it that BioWare seems to have the problems and, like, nobody else seems to? You know, I think that is a very fair question to ask, and an important question to ask. Oh, wow, I'm totally serving up that unit to get to get hit. Okay, well, you know what? We're gonna be sneaky and go around the side then. But yeah, so like the question I have on some of this stuff is like, so why is it that BioWare seems to be the group that's like that has such a problem with Frostbite, and all these other games seem to have been able to adapt more successfully? I do think that there are some specific problems in BioWare at that time that were being, you know, where Frostbite was a convenient scapegoat. On the other hand, though, I do think that people who are familiar with a particular set of tools clearly are going to work very well with them. And it is worth mentioning that, you know, Respawn has not only done... you know, worked very successfully with the Source engine in Titanfall 1 and 2, and of course Apex Legends, but then they also used Unreal for Jedi Fallen Order. And certainly the profitability of, you know, of those titles has not necessarily suffered for not using Frostbite, so... Anyways, I don't... The thing is that I'm talking about something that I don't really know about. And I was mostly just kind of filibustering to try and get the turn sorted out. So we are now ready to watch this. We'll watch this from the perspective of the Phantom Brigade. Because I really just want to see them go through that choke point. I probably should have checked to see what weapons they were carrying. So this is going to be beautiful. So, yeah, this is why I like the axe. But we are going to take a much closer look at what my... So I guess the good news is, even though we were being shot at with a fairly high-powered weapon, it did have to go through some buildings, so we avoided the worst of the experience. So railgun repeater here. We'll find out what they're pointing at in a minute. This is just a good old-fashioned machine gun, so I don't have that much to fear. And a railgun cannon, and on lifts, no less. Okay, so I want to avoid the machine gun. It's a heavy launcher. Ranges aren't too threatening on these turrets, so we should be fine. The real question is just how can I best get my... What I'm really trying to do here is just see what's the best way for me to get the... Is this actually going to hit? There's no way. Yeah, okay. I got really hopeful there for a second. So yeah, the real drawback here is that with the heavy launcher, this is going to really put a cramp in my... Yikes! Yeah, these turrets are doing a really good job of locking down my units, actually. Yeah, so here I get hit by a missile. Although... Huh... So yes, they launch the missile at me. So I run through, they launch the missile, I keep going, and then I dash. So I wonder if I'm going to be able to outrun it. That is potentially an 825 damage mistake I'm going to make. But we can... I think this is worth giving a I think this is worth trying. Okay, so obviously there's not a whole lot of hope for anything changing with this unit. So I'm not losing anything by just kind of walking forward while firing. I would maybe want to... Well, let's see if I've got enough. Can I get a cheeky little dash in there? Not without more heat, so... I think we're just going to waddle over to the most likely area. We're going to be able to do some damage. Now... You might wonder why I'm taking the time to even just walk this far, and it's mostly because if I can even get a little bit more of an angle. So we just keep moving that until we see the solid line, and now you can see it's not a full run of the... Oh, it actually might be a full run of the machine gun. But yeah, it's just a nice little opportunity to maximize the... Maximize the damage that I do. So then there's the question of the Sleipnir. I think probably the best thing I can be doing right now is putting as many buildings between myself and my antagonist. Oof. I think that's gonna have to do. Man, everybody hates this guy. I guess it's this girl, it's Kilo, but... I think I'll take heat damage over railgun to the face. I'm a little disappointed that this unit has to be hiding, but I think it's the best call given the situation that they're in right now. But a persistent bunch. Command won't commit any more drop squads to the site, so let's get this over with. Alright, well they're going to land right on top of the machine gunner, so that's not... That's not... Whoa! That's 4 guys. Oh my god, we're surrounded. Okay, I should have thought that through. Holy smokes. They're still going after... They're still going after Kilo. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try and take this as an opportunity to mop up... So, the first part is going to be about mopping up the units that are on the board right now. The second part is trying to get everybody into a position to sort of reply to this, these new arrivals. So one of the big things I got to do with this machine gunner, for instance, is that I'm not entirely sure that I can protect them in this position. Especially given the fact that this unit's going to be moving around. Oh, hang on. I got my answer to that, though. Wapow! All of a sudden, I'm feeling very confident in my ability to protect that unit. So if I just stay put and unleash hell, I'm not entirely sure I do enough damage to justify being there. But what I can do instead... Okay, a collision doesn't serve me. So I'm leaving myself wide open to these two units, but it's kind of my chance to get some early damage. I definitely think the melee unit's basically going to be the savior the whole way through, though. I was really hoping we'd be able to do some damage to this unit here because it's already concussed. The catch is... Well, you know what? Okay. This whole business here is a good plan B. This is a heavy launcher, so I can sort of afford to play fast and loose with it. So what are they hitting me with? Ugh, it's a machine gun. I shouldn't have even tried. So basically it's the fact that they've got 60 concussive damage already, so if I was able to successfully hit them with the... if I was able to successfully hit them with with the assault rifle, that probably would have been enough to take out the pilot. Okay, this works enough for me in that it's getting me close to where I want to go. Wasn't thinking about that. So again, some pretty good concussive damage here. This unit's got a marksman rifle. I actually don't have that much to fear from it. I do want to make sure that I'm not... Ooh, yeah, I took quite a bit of damage off of that, so... So this railgun might actually do some pretty serious damage to me. But at this point, I gotta swing for the fences. Like I really need to make some plays here. So basically, melee is gonna turn around. They're gonna head into a launcher. I guess the real question here is there any way that I can launch that melee attack even sooner? Okay, yeah, so that completely minimizes the railgun hit. This is going to be fun to watch. I wish I was doing something more than just attacking this tank, but it's what I can shoot at right now, so... Okay. So who's coming out? Okay, so there's a rocket coming after me here. That's a marksman. A cluster missile. And another marksman. You know, my better option is actually just to stay put. Fire the machine gun again, even if it does mean some heat damage. And then we just walk around the corner to deal. Oh, nope, because then they shoot me in the back. So what if I just walk forward into that building? Again, they hit me. And if I stay put and let the missiles hit me, there's a building in the way. Which is encouraging, but I think we can still do better. So the missiles may still hit, but at least I'm not making myself an easy target. In fact, I can do one better. So I go part of the way. Oh yeah, I also let this railgun hit me in the back. That's not smart. Okay, let's reconsider this whole turn. Okay, so that's about as close as I can get to protecting myself. Okay, so here's the better option. I accept that there's going to be some loss of I'm going to lose some accuracy, but it's going to have to shoot through a building. Again, we're going against significantly more powerful enemies than us, so watching where I do stuff is quite important. So I move up and then dash, I think. Yep. That gets me behind cover. And sorry guys, I am seeing the interesting chat on Game Engines that's going on in the background. I am definitely in the middle of it. Okay, so the good news here is that they don't open fire on me until quite a bit later. So we are just gonna zip on out. Gonna let them do their thing. And we are going... I mean, the one thing I might be able to get away with if I... No. So I'll just wait. Wait for a little while. I do want to try and cross some distance if I can, just because I do feel like having a heavy weapon is a good thing to... Like, it is a good option to have on the battlefield. Okay. And then after I'm done shooting at this unit... Probably most of the action's still going to be over here, so I will commit to this side. So clearly we want to see what's going on with the... Clearly want to see what's going on with the gavel. Game rules. Please tell me you did not trip. Oh, brutal. That would have been a wonderful, like, just being able to get a second hit. Let's watch us dodge some cluster missiles. Not a scratch. All right, we're still in the game. I do need to be very careful with this unit. If somebody targets them, they don't. Not until the very end, at least. Okay, so I'm going to run them up. They are going to deliver... pain. Oh, just short. That's fine though, as long as I know I can deliver it. So this is an absolute YOLO, you know, we're committing this early on in the turn, trying to make sure that the, like, just firing down this column and assuming that this unit's going to be stuck. So I'm going to have a little bit of a... There's a bit of an about face here to... Oh man, these two really hate each other. Okay. This doesn't work for me because I don't win a competition against a machine gun. What I can win, though, is anything against slightly concussed pilots. So what I'm going to try and do here, if I can... I mean, so the best for me is if I can actually get the Sleipnir in the fight somehow. What I really want to try and do somehow, or so, like what I really want to try and do at some... in some way is to be able to get my machine gun, like, so I'll put the machine gunner in like an ideal spot. So if I can like stick my machine gunner like this and just say, lol, you're gonna be sad, that's great. Maneuvering to that position is a real pain. It's like leaving aside my heat problems. So this actually lets me do what I want. But the problem is that there's this marksman rifle just waiting to ruin my day. So this is where the Phantom Brigade learns trust. I'm going to skirt around the edge of that. No, even then, that doesn't help me. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Fire it. We're not even going to get to an ideal distance. So, as close as I need. So again, we take the heat damage. And as soon as it's done, we move to the left. And they shoot into the side of the building. And in fact, as an extra precaution... Okay, so now there's a new goal for the Sleipnir. So because I know this machine gun's going to be aiming at the Sleipnir over here. Oh, the Daka's coming. The Daka's next turn. Don't you worry. So because of where the Sleipnir is, I'm actually going to run it across the side. And the real goal here, in fact, I'm willing to take some more heat damage. Because the more I can get this unit turning away from the... turning away from what it's being... from what's shooting at it, the more... Yeah. So basically, they get to turn their back for part of the machine gun. And if nothing else, we'll just kind of fight. Essentially, you'll notice like what's slowly been happening here is that the fight's now turning into a they're on this side, we're on this side sort of a battle. Which is really difficult, by the way, because all of the turrets are here. But my slowest moving unit is on this side, so we've sort of been forced into it. So, again, we're going to watch this one in slow-mo because there's lots that can go wrong. Not hitting a lot of meat. So they're gonna do the attack here. They're getting ready to deliver justice. Okay. And it turns out we missed out on a beautiful attack here, which I'm a little disappointed in. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually turn that into an immediate follow-up on this unit, where they're going to turn around. We're going to hit one more time. And I'll probably trip over one of the bodies, but... Okay. So, the Vulcan's just... Or, so the Gavel's just gonna sit here, as is apparently its target. And it's gonna be glorious. So, because they're gonna be targeting the Vulcan, or the Gavel, I want to make sure that I'm in a position to defend it as best as I can, without taking damage myself. So we'll let her rip with the machine gun. Ideally 2 sets of attacks. It might... Well, okay, how much damage do we do with this thing? 900 in a full volley. I am kind of hoping for, you know, for some good luck here. This unit, I'm assuming, is going to get just demolished. So the remaining question is there anything interesting I can do with the... Actually, there is. They can also be a savior. Not from that angle, though. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a dance, but I think we're in a good place. So there's a lot going on here. Who doesn't have order? Oh wait, I know who. All right, this one's down. one more melee attack coming in. And not that it matters. They already got taken out, so. Alright, and they're crashing, so we saved the Vulcan, which was probably not gonna be damaged anyway. But as you can see, that's a lot of enemy units that just went up this turn. Yeah, I think there's still plenty that they plan on adding into the game. It's huge, so I have no idea when the final launch is planned, but it's pretty special. I mean, like, so to my understanding, there's sort of a like a nemesis system that they have in mind. So apparently there's going to be sort of commanders of the occupation that will become rivals that you're fighting against. I'm really looking forward to that because you get a hint of it in the current Capital District fight. But you know, like, again, you know, once upon a time, this game, you know, had maybe like half of the weapons that are currently inside of it, and you know there wasn't all of the the damage on the units. There's like, this game has come quite a way already. I know, so I can shed a little bit of light on the Steam thing, not in the way that you want. Like I don't know anything that you don't know, but I do know that there is no financial incentive for Brace Yourself to keep this game off of Steam. I don't know how well Industries of Titan did, but it did seem to sell quite well on Steam. And so far as I can tell, you know, they were given money for, you know, whatever length there is for the Epic deal. But I do also know that, like, you could sort of see the shift in Industries of Titan when it sort of seems like it was moving towards like a Steam release, because generally what happened there was a lot of the bugs were sort of being polished or being fixed, and sort of there was some extra polish being put on the game. And just generally, like, I definitely get the impression that they very specifically want the game in a certain state from Steam, because it's going to mean a very large influx of feedback, which is largely a good thing. But of course, it's a little bit like if you are trying to get feedback from somebody on like an essay you wrote or something like that, and you know it's your first draft and there's some things that you'd want to do differently. Like, if the only feedback that you get are things that you already know you want to fix, then you're going to be missing out on the other things that you're really looking to get. So, if Industries of Titan is any indication, Brace Yourself is definitely not handling this from a, you know, we want to maximize revenue point of view. Well, I mean, like, I'm sure in the long run, any business is going to want to maximize the revenues, right? Like, clearly people need to put food on the table. But I believe they are very specifically, like, basically they want to make sure that the game is at a certain quality level before they release on Steam, even if that means that they don't get the benefits of, you know, a big influx of revenue from it. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, you know, people have strong opinions on the Epic Store. I'm sure, like, believe me when I say, like, if you take a look at the discussion forums, like, I don't think it's a secret that some people are upset that this game is an Epic exclusive, timed exclusive, obviously, but I do think there is something to be said for the fact that some of the money that Brace Yourself did get from that, they turned into Steam gift cards as part of the Industries of Titan stream. But the best I can just say on this is that I think probably the intention is to get the game to a certain stage. I'm going to assume a certain level of completeness as far as the campaign is concerned. And then there will be sort of an additional early access period on Steam. And then there's, the full release, which is sort of what the original vision of the game was. And of course, when they're ready to put it on Steam, they will announce that. But the best that I can just say to people is that, if you want to play it right away, there's one place that you can play it. I think most people are comfortable waiting for games that they're interested in, and if that describes, your situation, the best thing that you can really do is wishlist, because it obviously Steam's going to let you know when the game's available. Everybody's incentives are sort of aligned on that, in that sense. Brace Yourself wants people to know that their game is available, and Steam wants people to know that they can, they can buy their game on their storefront. And, in this case, it does. The one nice thing about wishlisting is that it does save Brace Yourself the cost of doing its own mailings to a mailing list. So. Oh yeah, Index. No, I mean, like, obviously, I don't mean to suggest that you're like coming off as like really mad about it or something like that, but it is it is definitely no secret that the decision to accept accept payment for the timed exclusive was was a not a universally welcomed choice. The only thing, like, here's my take in terms of specifically what Brace Yourself did. Hades did a very similar thing to Industries of Titan and presumably Phantom Brigade, which is they did an early access period on Epic. It was one of the Epic launch titles, and I got it on Epic, incidentally. I really enjoyed playing it in its early form, but it's also very fair to say, like, there were a bunch of people who kind of talked about that game as if, like, when it was released on Steam, like, it kind of came out of nowhere. Now, that's obviously not very good news for Epic, because, if this, like, Supergiant just keeps making hit after hit, and so if the reaction to, a very successful game coming out on Steam for them is, oh, hey, I didn't know about this thing, then obviously for them it's like, okay, well, what did we spend all this money for? Like, but to my own view, like, that's Epic's problem, right? Like, I managed to get a bunch of really good games on a discount. I don't particularly mind using the launcher. I know some people don't like using it. But for me, it's a little bit like when I used Uber a lot more than I do now. There was definitely a very long period of time when, rides were incredibly cheap, and essentially, a bunch of venture capitalists were subsidizing my transport. So, why wouldn't I take that deal? But obviously my own preferences are not ones that I think have to be drawn out for everybody else to follow. And I'll be honest, like, for a very long time I have been looking for not necessarily an alternative to Steam, but a legitimate competitor. So I was involved with GOG for a while. That actually ended really poorly. They tried to avoid paying me. And to a certain extent they still did, but eventually they did give an amount that was owing. There's a whole other second part to that, but I know some of you have heard that story, and there's no point in going over it again. And then there's also some things that Humble has done. So, like, from a affiliate standpoint, Epic has actually been probably the nicest partner to have worked with. And in general, one of the reasons why I got involved with GOG was because I would like to see more diversity in terms of game game distribution platforms. I don't know how many of you remember Steam before there were refunds, but the first digital distribution platform to offer refunds was not Steam. It was actually EA Origin. And it was the fact that EA Origin started doing these returns that kind of seems to have driven Steam to have made that choice. And obviously, there's other things that Steam has done in terms of its revenue shares and whatnot, that in response to other people releasing their own launchers, has sort of resulted in developers being able to keep a bit more of their money. So, as a whole, Steam's pretty benevolent compared to how people have behaved in their position in the past. It's like if you think about like Microsoft if you go far enough back, like there were antitrust suits and all of that. So, and of course that was where Gabe Newell kind of started. So certainly they're not in that territory, but I do like, I would prefer that we have effective and sort of consumer-friendly platforms, not necessarily through Valve's largesse. I would like to see that just as a function of how the gaming market works. And obviously competition is one way that can happen. Although again, there's certainly a lot of people feel very strongly about the way that Epic came into this space. And I was a lot more favorable about Epic early on than I am now. I particularly think a lot of what it tried to do with Apple was some pretty significant overreach, and I think some of their claims were pretty lame, to be honest. Like, I don't think a lot of what they were saying was very credible. So to a certain extent, I kind of need to say that I think differently about Epic and what they're trying to do than at the start. I was probably more willing to give them a little more of the benefit of the doubt than I am now. And as a whole, I still think it's a good development. But I think the usefulness of the Epic Store can exist even if there is an entire group of people who will never, ever participate with it. Although I will also say, like, the worst scenario, of course, would be that Epic decides, this isn't worth it for us and we're not going to continue supporting it. Like, thanks for the money, we're going away. But are they making us fight out the turrets? I mean, I don't mind doing it, but all right. I mean, it might be because there's missiles. I would have started chipping away at the towers if I'd known I had to do this. Yeah, and I mean, again, like, Index, no, it's like, obviously, like, people, like, in the end, like, people are going to have their preferences. And it can be everything from, I don't want to have an extra launcher, to, I'm, uncomfortable with who's invested in the company, to, I just don't think the storefront's going to exist that long, and I'm not entirely sure they have, they haven't convinced me that I'm going to be able to keep my games when it vanishes. I mean, frankly, I think I don't like the color of the icon is a legitimate reason to not want to use a storefront, because it's your money. Like, anybody who uses a service kind of has their say in terms of what their requirements are. So yeah, like, as somebody who, like, kind of follows this stuff, I have opinions, but I definitely don't feel that they need to be generalized. So everybody, you're in the Stoppler-Samuelson theorem in class, and homework is kick. Oh my goodness, I actually don't know Stoppler. I know Balassa Samuelson. I gotta look up Stoppler Samuelson. Oh, sorry, Stolper Samuelson. Oh, trade. Okay. I feel like I've run into this at some point, but obviously I didn't remember the... Obviously I didn't remember the name. This is the problem, like, between Paul Samuelson and Kenneth Arrow, both who they're related to each other. They apparently had all the good ideas. All right, let's wrap this up. Who isn't doing anything? Oh, yeah. Pretty sure I can't melee the turrets down. Although I guess I can make sure that it's not... it's not in the firing line. There we go. Okay, so I wonder why I didn't need to take out the turrets on the previous one. Maybe it's because I knocked them out. But again, that was another nice and tough, but really fun mission. If you're looking for help on your homework, it's huge. Let me know. I will break out. I'm assuming that's international trade that you're doing then. Let me know, and I will dig out. I'll dig out my. I think you said you were using Feenstra's textbook, right? But yeah, I can dig out my my textbooks and give myself a refresher. Although I'm sure you can get through it. You're a bright fellow. There's a really wonderful quote from Samuelson, actually. I'm trying to remember if he was asked or if he volunteered this. But it was... actually, you know what? I'm going to get the exact quote, because I actually rather like the way that he described this. So it was, apparently this is, I don't know how to pronounce this correctly, but Stanislav Ulam, I think, is a mathematician who was kind of challenging. So basically this is one of these cases of somebody saying is like, social science is a bunch of nonsense. So the challenge to Samuelson was to name a social science proposition that was true and non-trivial. And Samuelson's response was to point out the idea of comparative advantage. And the quote goes, that the idea is logically true need not be argued before a mathematician. That it is not trivial is attested by the thousands of important and intelligent people who are never able to grasp the doctrine themselves or to believe it after it was explained to them. Yeah, I actually have a copy. I don't have a copy of his, like the textbook that commonly gets used. I think my dad might have actually used that textbook when he was in college. But I do have his copy I do have a copy of. I can never remember the name. It's the hard one. Foundations of Economic Analysis. I got it for a song on a used book site, and I actually really wanted to work through it when the pandemic hit, but then they actually got me working on things somewhat related to the pandemic, so I had to put. I was totally ready to like not do any work, and then they asked me to do work. The jerks. Okay, 240. There's so much to grab, and we have so many intact. Bodies. It's almost a shame to throw some of this stuff away. So I do want some variety in my weapon, so let's grab some sidearms. I don't think I want the stance though. Well, stance is still pretty. I mean, even these arrow bodies, because they're so high level, they're probably upgrades for us. Okay, no point in... Let's deal with the intact stuff first. Oh, hang on. I gotta hang on to that blast. Lowers aren't worth as much. Upper is, though. There we go. That's 565 supplies plus a nice haul of gear. I am feeling good about that one. Alright. I feel like we probably won an extra hour off of that, but you know what? This was a lot of fun. So, we are September 22nd. I'm really sorry about the interruption partway through, and I feel like I could have made more progress if I wasn't so chatty, but holy smokes. First of all, big thank you to Brace Yourself Games and everybody on the Phantom Brigade team for stopping by in the channel. It was actually, like, okay, so like in one sense, it's, you know, I don't want it to be too, like, me centric, right? Like, obviously it's super cool to have developers come into a channel and just sort of be able to share the experience with them. But it is also very fair to say, you know, a big part of Industries of Titan for me was not just playing the game, but being able to interact with the developers and to, you know, see the thing kind of reach this, you know, new heights each time. I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. Sorry. You know, so, and there are a couple of other games that are like that, but I don't know, being able to you know, just be reminded of that. For the actually, you know, there are a couple things that are worth repeating here. So for those of you who are not checking out the Discord, I highly recommend it. You will see a lot of the people who are inside of the you know, inside of the chat handling that, or hanging around and doing all sorts of good things. And I'm just trying to find the other link. Jesus! Sorry. I think I gotta bring Chrome back up. Get ready for the YouTube videos.
You have to stop.
This funky spring mass damper system.
Can be made using a classification.
They are also hiring. So they are currently looking for a producer and a community manager. Some of the quotes, Alex Vostrov, best thing about working at BYG is learning from all my coworkers. This is the most talented group of people I've ever worked with. Andy Wynn, lead designer, project manager. Ryan's leadership fills an entire team with confidence, showing that fortune truly favors the bald. Antoine Lendrevi, art director, Industries Titan. I couldn't have hoped for a better place for my journey in the video game industry. Everyone here is super friendly, helpful, and fracking skilled. So you never know who's going to be watching a channel. You never know who's going to be... you never really know who's going to be someone who fills that particular role. If you think one of these things might fit for you, or if you think that you might know somebody who has this kind of experience or some kind of, might be a good fit, I benefit. The more awesome people that get rolled up in the Indie Katamari, the better games come out, and hopefully you will be one of those people who continues to come by my chat and makes it such a welcome place to be. So with that in mind, let's go through the credits. Apologies in advance to the people whose names I butcher, but let's take a second here and give credit where credit is due. Adelaide Jenkins, project lead engineer. Artyom Zuev, Pavel Efimov, Pete Thornycroft, Nikita Cotter, who is actually on the Brace Yourself Games channel quite a bit. I think Nikita's kind of become sort of the unofficial mascot of Phantom Brigade on the Brace Yourself streams. And Alex Vostrov, production support. Aaron Scott Hildebrandt, Alexa Scheiss. Scheiss, I think. Bahar Vagri Mogadam. These are two names that you might recognize from Industries of Titan, incidentally. Dakota Bosman Kennedy. Incidentally, I believe this might have been the last person who got a position for following one of those links on the career site. So, Lulu Kadim, who's obviously in the chat. Marlon Weeb, video producer, who also hosts the sort of the editing reviews, the trailer reviews on the Brace Yourself YouTube channel, so I highly recommend checking that out. I learn a lot from them. I get a lot from Marlon's advice. And Mel Severs is also somebody who does this very well. Matt Donatelli, producer, additional design. There's Mel Severs, as we said before, assistant video producer. Mobeen Fikri, I think, technical director. Nick Gunn, 3D art. Oliver Trujillo, I think, additional programming. Ryan Clark, executive producer and additional design. Founder of Brace Yourself Games. Sarah Kuczynski, I think, tools programming. And Tina Tai, writer. Operations team, Chelsea Ferguson, Chloe Ezra, Cindy Chow, James Chan. James Chan, if you happen to be... Okay. If you, by any chance, happen to hear this line, I'm sorry I haven't responded to your email. Things got very, very busy at work all of a sudden, and I will deliver on the stuff that we last talked about, but most importantly, I was actually really interested in that stuff that you mentioned in the email, and I would really like to read it, and I'm really hoping that I send you an email and you read that, rather than somebody tell you, hey, that System Shock guy sent you a message through his stream. Anyways, I owe Mr. Chan an email. Jared Tan, community intern. Lily, financial controller, and Madeline Gray, community manager. Music composition, Riley Koenig. Again, we did put the Bandcamp in the channel. Actually, do I have that up again? I hope I do. There's the composer's Bandcamp. Sound design by Power Up Audio, Joey Goddard, Cole Verdebeer, Jeff Tangsock, Kevin Regami, Craig Barnes. I believe Power Up is also going to be working on Darkest Dungeon 2. Illustrators Alan Blackwell, Edison Moody, Francisco Santoyo, Jeffrey Ernault, Thomas Scholes, Tom Moore, Mogi Group, additional QA services, Mario Stjoni, Nick Velasquez, Raphael Torner, Soren Seraphim, Zoe Witzenzau, sorry. Streamline Games, additional development services. This keeps getting added, this keeps getting bigger and bigger. Zari Maslin, Isel Amani, Lai Dixon, Ramesh Balachandran, Shanli Merman, Yipong Chen, Diversity Consultant, Diedrich Squinkeifer, I think. Voice acting, Kaylin Dorval, Dick Fairfax, Elsif Eastman. I wonder who, or is it Elspeth? Anyways, I know this is A&R Peer, so now I gotta find out who they're here. And Kizia Sedon. I know I did these names before, and I'm gonna feel even more embarrassed if I have to pronounce them again. Tetragon Works, Legacy, Dan Ross, Aura Treolo, and Chad Jenkins. I believe this is the company before it was acquired by Brace Yourself Games. Community moderators, Mr. Quinoline, who you will see inside of the Discord. And I will maybe leave... Well, no, we could do the license agreement. Unity, Bugsplat, NTS, YAML.net, Harmony.net Zip, and Kajiro Takashi, various assets. Special thanks to Arisa Scott, Chris Barassa, Justin Ma, Keepa Awe, Philip Deshane, Seattle Indies, Tarn Adams, Tyler Sigmund, Unity Dots and Rendering Teams, Zach Adams, Michael Lishenko, Jason Booth, George Paz. And in terms of companies that I think that's... So there's Bay 12, Dora Fortress in there, there's Red Hook, Darkest Dungeon, and I think Clay. There's definitely other game developers in that list that I don't recognize. And as much as I would love to credit the alpha testers, I think this is as good as I'm going to get in terms of pronunciation. Thank you, everybody, for sitting through that with me. Why did I take the time to mention the names? Well, number one, this is a really special game for me, and whether you buy it on Epic or whether you decide to, wait for Steam, I encourage you to wish list it on Steam if you're going to do that. I am actually going to send you to not just another game developer, but another Vancouver-based game developer, somebody who ran a really cool bar, which I wasted many hours and many dollars in, and he is currently fundraising for Extra Life. It is Brian on the Rocks. I think he's a really great guy, and again, just another Vancouver person. His Vancouver development is, of course, again, Respawn. He's former Apex Legends dev, currently working on their unannounced project, which is obviously the Dune MMO Space World. But don't take my word for it. We are going to pass it off to that good man. As for me, I do apologize for not having a... Oh, Brain on the Rocks? Jesus. I do apologize for not having an Oblivion episode up on Tuesday. That was actually Twitch's fault. So what I'm probably going to do is I might run that tomorrow if you want to watch it. It's already available on YouTube. Friday we're going to be back for the DLC for Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus. Monday is Stellaris. And then I think next week we're probably going to be back to Phantom Brigade. So if you want more of this experience, I will see you all in a week. As for the rest of you, I will see you whenever we are together again. Please treat Brian well. If you are up to it, if you have the means, if you're interested, please do consider supporting Extra Life. But I will leave it to him to explain that to you. I need to get some sleep, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Until next time.